Greetings, my esteemed watchers, and welcome to another episode of Poison Points. I'm your host, Irisu, and tonight, well, we're live. And
Yes.
thank you for the headbats. I seem to have fixed a majority of my issues. Now, I'm going to hear that knocking on wood. I have a plank of wood in the studio here with me. Just in case things go wrong. Greetings, PK, and Fawn, and Medi. Nix, I know Post is in chat as well, and any other lurkers that might be here tonight. I appreciate your time and your company being here. I have been working extremely hard, a little bit too hard, actually, to the point where it's beginning to stress me out a little bit. But I can assure you, I will be taking the appropriate measures to take a break. Thank you, Nix. 07 to Nix in chat.
Yes.
Thank you for the head pats, BK. They are much appreciated. You know, I just realized that I may have turned on some redeems that might not be wanting to be on. Let me just double check here. Okay, we seem to be okay. We got the dancing time. The Subaru Duck is dancing on stage, as is tradition. And some of you have little faith in me in regards to not referring to Post as a VTuber. I'm surprised. It's 5-1 right now. 5 in favor of, that I will accidentally refer to him as that, and 1.5 in me holding strong. So I'm curious to see if I will accidentally do it tonight. I might drop my guard. You never know. Also, for the first time in a while, I am making use of my ring light. I realized that might have been a contributor to the low frame rate. You know, as soon as I say that, the frames drop. So I'm wondering if it is just a problem with my phone being shitty. It would not surprise me by any stretch of the matter. We'll find out if I suddenly freeze out of nowhere. And honestly, I might just swap on over to a normal little PNG tonight. Iris won't drop her guard out of spite now. Well, we'll see. I am the one who made the prediction. My guard might be lowered. But yes, if you see me freeze for any reason, please let me know. Like frozen. And I will swap over to a PNG that is more suited to not disrupt the experience. Because as much as the webcam is a nice little feature, I will say that the lazy eye completely kills the mood. I don't know how to get rid of that lazy eye. I changed 0 settings to why it would cause that problem. But the fact that it looks like I have a lazy eye is not intentional. I promise you that much. And it is extremely frustrating to have. But that's fine for right now. Hello, Ango. Thank you for stopping on in. It's a pleasure to see you in here tonight. Sounds like no ring light? What do you mean? Well, I do have the ring light on now, but previously I did have a bright room during a bright part of the day, and it was still struggling with a lazy eye. But we'll see, Buffy, we'll see. Also, hello, Buffy. Are you streaming still? You better be in your own stream if you're still streaming. Raised eyes added to the unhinged energy Monday? Well, yes, but during the Biddles interview, it was not warranted because I wanted to be more serious. My interviews are my serious space. You know how it is. You just ended? Well, good. You get to be here with me, trapped forever, in my little suite. Well, I actually forgot. How was everybody's week? I had a rough start to mine, considering that the dishwasher at work has broken. So that's been fun, dealing with that for the past 2 days. And I'm dreading the night where I will have to go home after using 3-tier sinks all night long just to get the dishes done. I do not want to be drenched in water while I come home, especially before starting a stream. But yes, I hope that everyone's week was fitting. I have a lot planned, and I'm very excited to share it with you. It's just time time is a big problem, not only for showing some of the stuff that I would like to show, but working on said stuff, because I'm also running the donathon while we are, talking, which is still going on, by the way. I skipped Thursday for a very specific reason, which was exhaustion. God damn it, I swear to God, I can't get enough. It was an okay week, but I think I've fully burnt myself out. Well, now that you've burnt, it's time to crisp or uncrisp yourself. You peel back the layers and let that new fleshy skin grow back in. And then you do it all over again. That's the best part about working on things, I find. Yeah, like a little marshmallow. Except if you're me, I will eat you, regardless. Because I love burnt marshmallows. Even if they're not very good for you. Like a beautiful butterfly. Yeah, Ongo, you've got it. I might eat a butterfly. They are kind of delectable. Well, the lo-fi beats have certainly set the tone. Are we ready to welcome in our, person? Our signature interviewer, our interviewee tonight. You like burnt marshmallows, me too, but they're kind of bad for you, by the way. They're not good. Anything that is burnt is not good for you, health-wise. Fun fact, except for like sugar. That's like the only thing that is. And marshmallows do not fall under that. I'm talking pure sugar is okay to burn and eat and consume. But not marshmallows for some reason. Listen, I don't know the facts. All I know is that it is linked to cancer, especially. And if you've ever cooked on a grill and you've got those black lines on your steak, just know that those black lines are attributed to cancer. The more you know. That was a cruel reality that I don't think anybody needed to know, but consuming large amounts of burnt marshmallows, they're bad for you? Yes, unfortunately they are, as much as I would like them not to be. All right, I've been distracted for long enough. Oh, hold on. I just realized that I didn't actually check to see if something was set up properly. Okay, very good. Introducing our guest for this evening. It's Post.
Hello, people of the internet, and hello to the people of Poison Points. Pleasure to be here.
It's a pleasure to have you, Post. I hope I didn't
keep you. More than anything else.
I hope I didn't keep you waiting for too long. I was discussing the ethics of eating burnt food.
I was looking at those ethics. I'm thinking to myself, man, this cancer tastes delicious. Anyways,
it is a strange correlation. I didn't know that, but I believe it is because you burn things that those especially dead cells start to interact with your immune system in weird ways. So. Yummy cancer.
What you're saying makes sense, but my taste buds say otherwise. So,
well, Post, we're off to a great start. Everything is working flawlessly. I'm gonna knock on wood again. Especially considering.
I'll knock with you.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Especially considering that all of my voice commands worked without a hitch. I didn't have to say it multiple times. So we're completely hands-off tonight, everybody.
Let's go.
Well, Post, it is a pleasure to have you here. And I remember our discussions for the entirety of the week, and I'm surprised that we didn't piss anybody off. Saying things like, man, I wonder when we can get you on the show. Man, I wonder when I can interview the Postmodern Art podcast. And secretly, we've been planning this for nothing short than 2 to 2.5 weeks.
Yeah, seems about right. Yeah, I think it was. I'm trying to remember. I think it was after Grandpa's interview, if I remember correctly, because I remember I was watching that stream. I think I signed up for that same stream.
Yes,
for your application.
Yes, I double checked and made sure, and I was like, oh, Post. Yes, it is the one and only Postmodern Art podcast, who actually,
yes,
You were the last person to sign up before I changed everything. I literally scrapped all of my application. Well, didn't scrap it. It obviously stayed. I just changed the formatting of how it all worked. So, welcome. You are here. You are the product of the old age.
I am a relic of the ages of old.
All right. Well, I have a question for you. And
Mhm.
this question comes from last week's interviewee. And I'm just remembering how ridiculous this question actually is.
I'm all for the ridiculousness. Let's go.
Oh no. Oh no. Something happened.
Oh no. Oh no.
Oh, uh-oh, I may have lost that question. Hold on, let me double check. This is very important. This is the most important question you'll be asked all interview long.
Please, I must know what Biddles needs to know from me so badly.
I remember now. Okay. Biddles asked, would you put your hand in her mouth?
Ooh, this is a game of trust that Biddles is laying before me, huh?
Yes.
Well, the issue is I haven't had too much opportunities to interact with Biddles. I would love to interact with Biddles. I would honestly love to have Biddles on the podcast at some point in the near future. So at this point, I would not, but give me a conversation or two, and I'll be more than happy to test that strength, test that connection that we potentially have, because I want to have that trust in Biddles.
Well, I mean, she has the pointy teeth, but we were discussing the fact that Peter Griffin resides inside of her mouth. And we were talking about how that's an opportunity you can't really pass up.
I mean, yeah, but again, it goes back to that trust. Like, just because I have an opportunity to shake hands with Peter Griffin in her mouth does not guarantee that the instant that we touch hands, that Biddles bites my hand down and I am without my right hand, which is my most valuable hand.
This is fair. This is fair.
Again, I need to develop that trust with Biddles before I go forth and shove my hand into her mouth. That's all I'm saying.
Oh, you missed it, BK. It was a riot of a final question. Biddles brought out the tiny little Peter Griffin on her hand and then shoved him into her mouth. And honestly, it was quite the sleight of hand spectacular.
I see what you did there.
It was wonderful. It was wonderful. Well, that was it. I love the serious questions that I get. And then I love the ones that are just like, what the fuck? How is anybody supposed to respond to these? Because they're a great cold open to an interview, I'd say. You know what? For the hell of it, you want to know what... would you be willing to answer last week's question that Claudia had?
I would be more than happy to if you'd be willing to ask.
All right. Claudia wanted to know, would you eat a block of cream cheese with her? Nothing else.
Oh, hell yeah.
There are no crackers. There's nothing. It is just the block of cream cheese.
You know what? I am a sucker for just cheese in general, and cream cheese is within that uniform thing. I mean, because there are so many possibilities with cream cheese, but I mean, even then, cream cheese is a good base just on its own. So, I mean, yeah, if we're sharing it, I'm down to share a block of cream cheese.
All right, you've provided an acceptable answer. The train sniper can stand down out in the distance.
There you go. Fun fact. So, I'm gonna go ahead and take this on a tangent, but cream cheese reminds me, I'm a wrestling fan, okay? Mm-hmm. And when my buddies were getting me into wrestling, like they were talking about the show that WWE had called Breaking Ground, where it's like showcasing like some new recruits and like breaking them into the industry more or less. Well, on the first episode, there was a guy, I mean a bigger guy or whatnot, and for some reason one of the trainers called him cream cheese. I do not know why, but that man is still with WWE today, and he is one of my favorite wrestlers right now. So shout out to cream cheese.
Wait, is that his current wrestling name that he
No. His current wrestling name, it was Otis Dojovic for a bit, but now it's just Otis.
Gotcha. Okay. Buffy wants to know, is that the show with Heisenbert? I don't know.
I
Oh wait, because it
don't-
sounds like Breaking Bad. I see.
Oh, I see what you did there. No, it's not Heisenberg. I'm sorry, Buffy. I'm sorry to disappoint.
Yeah, specifically Heisenberg, not Berg. It's okay. It's okay, little clown. We extend our support and head pats to you. All right, Post. I have the Postmodern Art Podcast, Post for short, who runs the Postmodern Art Podcast, which is your name, though it's Post for short. Would you mind telling me why did you come up with just the name, Postmodern Art Podcast?
Well, I believe it or not, this is one of my favorite questions that I love getting asked. I've only been asked this like one other time, so thank you for asking this right off the bat.
Well, of course.
So postmodern art podcast. The first thing that you instantly think of is postmodern art. It's a known movement. It's very vague and stuff, but I like to actually do it as a play on words, more or less, because most people will see postmodern and it's collided together, but I have it separately because I'm trying to, in a fun sort of way, encourage people to post their modern art, because we live in a modern society of social media to where art needs to be presented out there in so many different ways for people to truly see it and appreciate it. So I'm trying to encourage people to post their modern art.
I see. A clever play on words.
Absolutely. And I will also go ahead and say the reason why I am named Post because of that is obviously because of that. And in Discord, I go by the same handle that you can find me on all social media platforms, Postmod Art Pod. And actually a former guest of your podcast, Eldritch Grandpa, who is a former guest on my podcast as well. So there's our connection right off the bat. I was in one of his servers, and he could not, even though he was on my podcast, and I introduced myself properly, he could not remember my name for the life of me. so he just called me Post, and everyone just started affectionately calling me that. And I mean this in the nicest way possible. It is the best nickname I've ever had, and I'm forever going to encourage people to call me Post if they can.
I didn't know that the name Post was so recent for you.
I mean, relatively speaking, yeah, I would say, like, relatively speaking, I'd say at least 2021, 2022. It seems about right.
Okay. So, from your definition, what is postmodern art? Like, what do you deem, well, I don't want to say worthy, just who do you deem interesting enough to be on your podcast?
Oh, okay. That is a good way of wording it, because I thought if you were going to ask me about postmodern art, I would be blunt with you. I have no idea about anything when it comes to the postmodern art movement. I need to talk more to Pinch to get more about that art history. But who do I deem worthy of being on the Postmodern Art Podcast? Well, first things first, you got to post art. Like that's just right off the bat. You got to be a person that I can certainly tell just by the way that you're presenting yourself that you love art and you love the stuff that you're presenting. You are presenting. I'm always a person that's going to be championing, showcasing that love and support and passion, love and support for other people's passions. And in today's world, to where it just seems like, people need to be focusing on money and such, and, getting that position or getting a certain, status quo or something along the lines of that. I'm always a person to where if I see you showcasing a lot of love and passion for what you're doing, you are instantly a person that I love and admire, and I want to have your back and showcase what you are doing to the world. I mean, you can look at all the guests I've had on my podcast, and it is very rare to find two people that do the same exact thing. I try to get a wide range of different kinds of artists doing all sorts of different kind of things, whether it be traditional art, digital art, people that make thumbnails for YouTubers, musicians, VTuber model makers. I've had 2 wrestlers on the podcast. I mean, you can ask some people, they might not think much of wrestling, but wrestling is an art form. It's true. In my opinion.
Yeah, I 100% agree with that one.
Exactly. So if I can tell that you are putting a lot of love and passion to whatever you are doing, I consider you an artist first and foremost, and I would love to have you on the podcast at some point.
I appreciate this, Fluffy sir. Here, I will let me reinstate the command here, because you actually don't stream, at least not to my knowledge.
I do not.
But you do have your YouTube channel, and you do post. Are you posting on Instagram as well? Because I know you're on Twitter, of course.
I do have an Instagram. I'm trying to get better about using Instagram, especially with doing with the bluebirds. So I'm
Yeah.
trying to get better about Instagram. But like, to be fair, before this past week's episode, the last time I used it was like December. So that tells you how well I use Instagram.
Yeah, I feel you there, because like using social media is draining enough, but to use more than one platform in a day is certainly the crux of pain and suffering. Like there's a special circle in hell for people who only have to scroll through the social media tabs.
And especially nowadays, to where, because one of the more powerful social media platforms is slowly trying to eat itself up like a snake more than anything else. And now there's like 20 different clones of that single one, and everyone's joining onto all of them. It just leaves me exhausted at the end of the day. I don't want to use Twitter. I want to get off Twitter so badly, but until it truly crumbles to the ground, I'm going to use it, because at least for me, that's where I've developed most of my strongest fan base. And for me, it's like the most necessary evil I need to connect me with artists at the moment.
Yeah, that's the thing, is like you have a world of poison, and this one's really bad, but it technically gives you the most bang for your buck out of any other. So you gotta deal with the poison just a little bit.
It's like coming on this podcast. Like, I'm sure I've been poisoned at least 20 times since I've been sitting here. But you know what? I've been enjoying myself, so why not keep going?
Here, have another shot.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you.
And the jitters begin.
This one gives me a nice little tingly feeling in my arm. Let's go.
Well, yes, so you have 133 now, 133 uploaded podcasts. You've been doing this for a long time, and I need to know, from the start of you doing podcasting in general up until now, what has changed for you? Have you had a new view on how you handle these things? Have you had a new view on artists that you've met?
I'll tell you what, oddly enough, I'd say the biggest thing that has at least changed for me more than anything else is a good example of why I'm here right now. My love and appreciation for VTubers. When I initially started out, I didn't even really think much, nor really knew much about VTubers in the first place. I think the most I had ever heard of it was, I think, like Pokimane used a VTuber for like one stream or something like that, and that was like the extent of my knowledge of what a VTuber was. But like, the more I got involved with the stuff, the more that I immersed myself when it comes to different artists and stuff like that. Eldritch Grandpa was certainly a good example, really immersing me into that world. I mean, it's gotten to the point to where I'm basically VTuber adjacent at this point, thanks to the people I've been able to meet and have surprisingly embraced me more than anything else. I mean, aside from that, some of the other things I would easily point out is, I feel another big thing is probably the flow of my podcast more than anything else. When I was starting out, I was still trying to get together like how exactly things needed to go. And I feel like you could probably attest to this, because as a podcast host, like, as you're starting out, you have a general idea, but you really don't know how it's going to go until you actually do it. Now I've developed a point to where, like, I know how it's going to start. I have an idea how to lead the conversation in the middle aspect of it, and I know how it's going to end, to where I get a nice, good flow to the conversation that still feels like a natural conversation at the end of the day.
Oh, yes. There is a certain amount of planning you can do, but after you start recording, you hit that button, it's kind of to the wind, and you can only do what you've prepared in order to keep it flowing well, I should say. And there's a certain thrill about that, I would say.
I cannot tell you the amount of times I am surprised with how wildly different the conversation goes than I even anticipated. Whether or not that's a good or a bad thing depends on which episode you watch. But for the most part, it's been really amazing. Just kind of like, it's like a tennis match. I set up the first serve, but however they serve it back to me, I may not be prepared for it, but I'm gonna try my hardest to keep up with them.
Of course. What is one of the biggest conversational shifts in a podcast that you've had? Like, it started out with one thing, and it was pretty based on what they do, and then it went out the window, like crazy wild.
Okay. The first one that comes to mind is episode 30. I want to say it's episode 32.
Okay.
If I remember correctly. It's Dave Capdeville. For those who don't know, he is a writer who has done several things, such as the pilot for Has Been Hotel. Is currently working on Far-Fetched to make that like a reality more than anything else. I remember we were just starting up like the conversation to where we were talking about like how he was starting out, going to college for radio broadcasting, working for the college radio station. And I don't know how, but we somehow got into the conversation to where we were talking about Andrew WK on Cartoon Network, and then the fact that when like trashy reality shows in like the late 2000s, like Duck Dynasty or Grits, Girls Raised in the South, like it's funny how it's like we're trying to talk about like these cool beginnings and such, and we talk about just like stuff that you would talk about in a normal conversation, like just a that if you pop into a VC, like that's where the conversation goes. I love conversations like that. I love when they flow a million different directions, because that's the vibe I try to go for with the podcast. Just a calm, cool, casual conversation that you can enjoy, talking about a person's passion.
Mm-hmm. For a second, I thought you were going to talk about the Cars situation.
Oh my god! No, here's the thing: the car situation was planned. That's the scary thing. Okay.
Oh, I see. The criteria changed.
Well, it's like, I try to do my due diligence whenever I'm trying to research my guests that I bring on, and sometimes I'm introduced to people by my producer or my co-showrunner, Tipsy J Harts. Shout out to her, follow her on Twitter and all stuff like that. She's an amazing artist. She's been with me for ages now, helping me out with this. But like, I got introduced to this artist named Professor Bees, and Professor Bees, like, I looked at their art real quick and I thought, okay, that's cool. If they're interested, let me know. She told me she was interested. We, get conversation. All right, let's set interview, stuff like that. Okay. Sometime before the interview, I want to make sure I do my research. I start looking through like the web comics that she's produced, and I'm like, okay, so there's this cool one, My Kiwi Crush. Oh, it's a cute one, kind of a teenager budding romance kind of thing. That's cute. What's this one? Mountain Strawberry. What's it? Oh, that's Lightning McQueen. They're doing. Oh,
they're making little car babies.
Well, I mean, they're human versions of that car, of those cars. I mean, but like, and the thing that I could not think the entire time is like, fuck, the art's still good though. Like, the art is still amazing. That's why I love talking to Professor Bees. That was a great conversation. But it was like, I wanted to, I even like poked fun a little bit at the fact that it's like, you just have cars fucking. Like, what the fuck's up with that?
The funnest part of all of that, and I will not be posting this image. You will never catch me dead posting this image anywhere except for DMs. You told that story to me in person, and I immediately found the picture of the toy car Lightning McQueen sucking on somebody's toe.
Oh, I remember that was your first DM to me.
It made me think of you. What can I say?
That was your first DM. That was the first like direct one-on-one interaction you had with me, and you know what? I have loved you since.
Well, I'm glad. I like to imagine that, like, if you ever saw me on my stream beforehand and you see this conniving little demon frog girl, whatever the fuck, and the first thing she sends you is Lightning McQueen sucking on somebody's toe. Look, I have always said I like to be the master of subversion, and that also goes for streams and personal life. So...
Well, you know what? You're doing a great job at that. I'll tell you that much.
Thank you. Okay, so I'm curious. Like, you've interviewed a lot of people. You've had a lot of people on the show, 133 to be exact. Along your journey, were there any like inspirations, whether it was during or before, any big inspirations to you to do podcasting? Did you find any Like any specific people, and you're like, I kind of want to do that, or I want to do this style.
Okay. Here's the odd thing. Like, before I actually started podcasting, I didn't really think much of podcasting. The most I thought when it comes to podcasts is this one called the Misfits Podcast. It's a group of YouTubers, kind of known for edgy, subjects. I was an edgy kid in, high school who wasn't a little edgy and stuff. But like, they were like the only podcast I had ever listened to. But like the concept of a podcast is always kind of like stuck in my mind. Like, if anything was an inspiration for me podcasting before I started podcasting, I would actually say like talk show hosts. Like a good Jay Leno or like Jimmy Fallon when he was doing late night, not the Tonight Show. Like Conan O'Brien, Dave Letterman, like those guys, the way they kind of like commanded an audience, like they like presented their guests, stuff like that. That was my biggest inspiration before I got into podcasting. After I got into podcasting, I was talking to like certain people here and there, getting an opportunity to meet people that do podcasts, stuff like that. And there was one person in particular that's like, hey, you should, like listen. Oh, there was one person in particular because at the time I was trying to find a way to spread the word about the podcast, and I found them through Reddit because they were trying to find random strangers to hop on their podcast. Like literally their podcast was just, hey, you're a random stranger, fill out this form. If I think you're interesting, I will have you on. We will talk for at least 1 hour. It'll be like a phone conversation. And I'm like, you know what? This sounds awesome. Let me sign up for this podcast and let me listen to this podcast. The podcast was called Stranger Than Christian. It's not a religious podcast. Let me start by saying that. It's the guy's literal name is Christian Carrion. So Stranger Than Christian, Stranger Than Fiction, kind of the play on words when it comes to that.
Yes.
I mean, this guy is one of the most interesting people I've ever had a chance to like listen to. He was a person that always loved game shows and stuff like that. Actually participated in 6 different game shows himself. Worked in hospitality and such, like hotels and all that stuff. When the pandemic happened, he kind of lost his job. So it's like, well, I wanted an opportunity to basically be a game show host. This is the closest I'll ever get to that. Started his podcast. And the conversations he would have was the kind of conversations I wanted to have on the podcast, where like, yeah, there was kind of an idea of like, highlighting stuff like that, but he was more or less like the person like leading the charge while letting the person just kind of run buck wild and talk about them, have them like truly have that inspiration to like, because I'm sure you could probably attest to this sometimes, but like people love talking about themselves. People enjoy being able to talk about like themselves and what they're proud of and what they enjoy and things that are on their mind and stuff along the lines of that. And so I kept like listening to Stranger Christian. I listened to just about every single episode of the podcast, and I absolutely loved it. I actually, funny enough, I actually joined his podcast network to try to see if I can show him some love and support.
And is he still doing it to this day?
He's doing podcasting, but he's stopped doing Stranger Than Christian.
Okay.
Mainly because, remember how I said earlier that, he loves game show, former 6-time game show contestant. He has since spun that to where he is working with a couple of game show producers, as well as the Strong Museum in New York, which is home to the Worldwide Museum of Play or something along the lines of that, to where he now hosts a podcast called Tell Us About Yourself, to where he brings on former game show contestants and have them talk about their experience on game shows. And it's still one of my favorite podcasts to listen to, mainly because Christian is a great host. And it's easily my biggest inspiration when it comes to podcasting.
If you could DM that one to me, I would love to check that one out, actually.
I would absolutely. I'll DM you after we get done with our conversation. I would absolutely love to.
Push his fingers together.
One second. Let me see if I can. Let me pull up my Spotify super quickly and see if I can find it. But yeah, no, like it's really amazing. Like some of the conversations and stuff, like talking to all different people from all different game shows. He actually talked to the person that won the first episode of Jeopardy.
Really?
Yeah, like back in the day, like when it was like still trying to figure out what exactly Jeopardy was supposed to be. Yeah, the person won $300.
Woo, what a steal.
I know, right?
Oh my goodness.
It's a really okay. I think I found it. There we go. Let me go ahead, send you that little copy show link. I will get you that lovely little DM.
Thank you.
You are most certainly welcome. There you go.
Yeah, believe it or not. So, some people probably don't know this, and the second these words leave my mouth, you may physically cringe. But this podcast is actually based off of two different ones. Two different big inspirations. The first one is game shows, which is funny because I don't do any game shows. It's just the cadence and the mannerisms of a game show that I really like.
Mm-hmm.
And the second one is, and for only one specific reason, the Joe Rogan podcast.
Well, elaborate.
So I don't really like Joe Rogan. I don't like anything about the guy. Some of his guests are interesting. But the one thing that I do like that he does is camera angles. I love his shifts between the angles during the interview. And of course, that is all done in post because he has like 5 to 6 cameras running at the same time, and he's got that all prepared. Right. But I really liked the idea of being able to shift around and not just be all the way out here the entire time. Granted, I don't do it as much because it can be a little disorienting and distracting. But it does, like, it takes all that center space and it brings us a little bit closer together, I'd say.
Oh no, like I can certainly see that inspiration more than anything else. Like, believe me when I say I agree with you, Joe Rogan, piece of shit.
Mm-hmm.
but I've listened to like 1 or 2 episodes of this podcast, and like you said, like, yeah, his guests are interesting. I can't believe I'm gonna admit this, but another great example of that is Impulsive, Logan Paul's podcast. I only recently got into it because I was doing research for a guest, and while doing that research, I saw some of the other people that he had brought on, mainly like wrestlers that I like and enjoy because he's a wrestler himself. Mm-hmm. And like the guests tell the incredible stories, and they're the main ones that carry it. But also, I was also somewhat genuinely surprised hearing Logan Paul being like remotely relatable. Still the biggest piece of shit that exists on YouTube, but like somewhat relatable somehow.
Actually, Espeon, he is an extremely talented wrestler. Like,
yeah,
absolutely wild. Some of the stunts that he pulls off are ridiculous. Probably, and I hate that I have to say it like this, but one of the most entertaining that you will watch. And whenever he is on screen, there's never a dull moment in the match ever.
Look, I'll tell you this much. I watched Money in the Bank the other weekend and stuff like that. And the spot that he and Ricochet did to where they fell off the ladder and then did a Spanish fly off the ropes onto the tables was one of the best spots of the entire night.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I guess in that sense, it's you like him or hate him, he is talented.
Plus, ever since he kind of leaned into the fact that people realize that, at least the higher ups realize that he's kind of a jerk, ever since he's kind of leaned into that, he's been a lot more comfortable with his character, which is a good reason why you can love to hate him.
Yeah, exactly. Now you have a reason to vocalize your disregard with him. And okay.
Like, don't get me wrong. Like I said before, he's a piece of shit, and I will not respect him for some of the shit that he has done. But I respect the like work effort he has sometimes.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I haven't watched a lot of his stuff. In fact, I probably should, because I like to look at some of the people I dislike and judge them a little bit. Maybe that's bad, but he is one of those people that I could see myself genuinely getting a kick out of. It was funny because Max is doing the WWE stuff with all of the VTubers being created into wrestlers and all that. And when they downloaded the 2023 WWE, the first thing that they showed us was all of the VTubers versus Logan Paul and just beating the shit out of him. It was so fucking funny.
Oh, that's perfect. That is cathartic more than anything else.
It was amazing. Absolutely wonderful. And perfect segue into this, but you were just on the GIW tournament against Bonnie,
which is a surprise. Which is a surprise to me as well.
Well, no, I think your caricature is perfect. Actually, it was practically flawless to include you in the GIW Cup. Also, we are getting rated.
Well-
Welcome on in.
Welcome on in, Raiders.
We are interviewing.
Oh, it's Vinci.
Literally, that is their name. Hello, Benji. I need to make sure that I spelled that right. My vision has been very poor. There we go. Give you a follow here. We're interviewing Post of the Postmodern Art Podcast, otherwise known as Post Modern Art Podcast,
Hi.
featuring Post.
You know what they say? All post is post.
It's true. Actually, because I'm one of those people who gets distracted very easily. You just, when I say just, you usually have some time in between when you interview and when you post. Giggity. You just interviewed the Odd One Out. Or the Odd Ones Out. Wow, my God, I cannot say his name. It's so hard. But yes, you just had him on the show, and I've yet to go through and watch it yet. But how was that experience for you?
Oh my goodness, I cannot tell you how much of an experience it was. It was something else because first off, like to even consider the Odd Ones Out to be a part of like the legacy of this podcast blew my mind as it was alone. I wasn't even trying to get the guy on the podcast. Like I wasn't actively like trying to get him on. It was like a couple weeks back. Again, the person that helps me run the podcast, Tipsy J Hearts. Again, follow her on Twitter and such. Amazing artist. I was going to her because I needed I wanted to get a couple specific artists, and like they were following her and not following me, which is fine. And we were trying to get that down. And she had just been like, "Hey, I also got a couple other people that might be interested. I got this one artist that we're working with, really cool person, and the Odd Ones Out." And I heard that, and I thought to myself, I asked her, "Are you talking about someone that works for the Odd Ones Out or the Odd Ones Out?" She's like, "It's the Odd Ones Out." I'm like, "What the fuck?" Because I'll give another major shout out. A person who I have previously had on the podcast, as well as someone that is close friends with Tipsy, who goes by Areg Sevchenko. Episode 56. He works for James. He works for the Odd Ones Out. Mm-hmm. So it was like they work behind the scenes, behind my back, and like was wondering, like making that connection a reality. Next thing I know, I'm sending him a friend request on Discord and DMing him to figure out a time to set up an incredible podcast and such. And then next thing I know, I'm in a Discord call with him, like just talking about how he's like literally born a day before me, and me trolling him at the beginning of the podcast by quoting his first video, which he cringes about. It just blew my mind being able to like have that conversation with someone that I honestly like look up to a little bit, like at least like when it comes to how he presents himself. Like he does a good job like really being relatable and being himself, and that was something that I could not help but appreciate. Especially the conversation we had. It was the conversation I was hoping for and then some. Like it was a genuinely incredible conversation, and if you guys haven't had the opportunity to watch that episode, I sincerely hope you do. Like it's one of my proudest moments of the podcast so far, and I wish more people knew about it and could see it.
Yeah, it is. I've seen a little bit of the beginning, and I'm very excited to finish it. I was very proud of you when I heard it. I shared your surprise, I'm sure, because you weren't expecting it, from what I could tell.
I was not at all, none whatsoever. It's like that scene in like Wayne's World. I am not worthy. I am not worthy.
Yeah, this is like probably like the perfect example of how networking is super important for whatever you do.
Yes.
And people always think, at least when I tell them, like, you should network, that it's you're just my accomplice, or like, I know you barely, you're my acquaintance. It is actually like part of being a genuine friend with people. Obviously, you can't be absolutely on top of everybody and be friends with them, but again,
right.
A podcast is a great place to open up, especially yours, because of the way that you run it. there are genuine conversations that you hold with these people, and that sticks with them. So yeah, that is the power. I will preach it, network it.
I will.
It's so
I will
important.
I will also be the one to obviously like shout that to the rooftops when it comes to networking, because
Yes.
I cannot tell you, Iris, how many times people have asked me, well, how'd you get such and such on? Like you asked me right now, how'd you get the odd ones out? Like, how was that experience like? People ask me, how'd you get Will Wood on the podcast? How'd you get Dubas Goobas on the podcast? How'd you get XYZ? How'd you get One Hit Wonder from 2009 Asher Roth on your podcast? Like, I get these questions like all the time. And like I just tell people, like I just do one simple thing. I ask.
Yep.
Like just taking that first step is so much, like it makes leaps and bounds more than you would ever believe. Like, Iris, how did I get on this podcast? You asked me to come on this podcast, right?
Yeah. I like sort of in a weird way. Yes.
It's like I let you know. I also have people tell me all the time, well, not all the time, but I have people tell me here and there, hey, it'd be cool if I could get on your podcast at some point. And I keep that in mind. That's something I keep in the back of my mind. Like you had an opportunity to where I could be like, hey, I'd be interested in coming on your podcast. And then you approached me asking me, hey, do you want to come on the podcast? And I said, I would love to. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. Like I know there's the whole entire like, introvert, like scared. But like, believe me when I say, like, the worst thing someone could do if you ask is either say no, they can't, or just ghost on you. That has happened to me more often than not. Mm-hmm. And you know what? That's fine. Especially with what I'm doing. There are several more artists out there to where either that person is busy or they're just not interested. And that's fine. I move on and I find other amazing, interesting artists. And I move on.
Yeah. Yeah, there is, theoretically, every day that passes, actually more like every minute, a new artist being born. And you have an infinite supply.
Exactly. Oh my goodness. Especially in these days when it's like the internet and there's so many different artists and even so many different forms of art that people consider art. The possibilities are about as endless as can be.
It's funny because you mentioned that all you have to do is ask, and that's like the same for a lot of things, like asking people whatever. I didn't consider that even after I asked Grandpa to be on my podcast or on Poison Points, because I had probably one of the most dog shit streams I've ever done, where I didn't do anything. I just turned on the stream. This was more recently, actually. And then Grandpa showed up out of nowhere, like literally just showed up. And I went, hey, Grandpa, do you want to be on my podcast? Boom. That was it. That's how I got him on.
And I knowing Sam, that is so like on brand for him to do that kind of stuff. It is so on brand, like, because you know how he is. He loves showing that love and support for people, especially streamers big and small, especially the smaller ones and such. And so like the fact that you were just willing to be like, hey, do you want to come on my podcast? Like that's how I got him on my podcast. I just simply asked him, hey, I love what you're doing. You want to hop on the podcast?
Yeah, and boom, lo and behold, it was an amazing interview. I had a lot of fun with him, and I got spoiled rotten with all of the special art that had never been seen before by anybody.
I know, right?
And I got to post it or show it live, which was the greatest feeling ever. It was so much fun.
I have to ask you this right now. Would you consider that at least like the highlight when it comes to some of your guests? Like, obviously, it's hard to pick like your absolute favorite guests because like they each bring like a good, interesting vibe with each opportunity. But would you consider Grandpa's interview like at least one of the highlights or the biggest highlights when telling people about Poison Points?
Yeah, I definitely would say so. Like when I had him on, it was a very surreal experience because this is someone who, when I started, I looked up to him ever since the beginning. And to have him sitting in front of me was amazing. It was wonderful. But I wouldn't say that it was my absolute highlight. It definitely was like a really big moment. But I actually I have a very special place in my heart for the interviewees I have that do shed a tear on the show.
Okay.
Because it is like, one, it feels great. Not in a way that I'm like, haha, you're crying, this is content. It's just you opened up to me in a way that neither of us were expecting, and that means that I've helped you feel comfortable. So I would actually say that my favorite interview was with Bandit, Smoking Bandit VT, because I believe that is the most he has ever opened up to anybody, including myself, about his feelings. Because he talked about he's a veteran, and he talked about how he wished he could do more for the people who were his peers. And I almost completely lost all composure, bawling. It was a very tender moment, and on top of that, like, he talked about his schizophrenia. He was just very open, and it was very emotional the entire way through, like highs, lows, goods and bads. It was wonderful. I love that so much. One of my favorites, I'd have to say, by far.
Because I can imagine, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I can imagine that, like, at least for you, like, for even just like a short window of time, this person feels so comfortable with you that they're willing to share some of their most personal stuff that they may not have ever shared before. And the fact that, at least for you, like, they have that like trust in you to like tell you this kind of stuff and not feel any sort of like shade or backlash for it. Like, they feel comfortable enough. That had to be, I'm not gonna say like rewarding, but it almost had to feel like, that's the word I'm looking for. It must have felt like reassuring more than anything else that what you're doing is providing an incredible atmosphere for whoever you bring on the podcast to talk about whatever they want to do.
Yeah, exactly. I was worried that like people would see it as though I was trying to farm it in that regard. That was never the intent. I always try to make sure that whenever something like that does happen, there's no big splash. There's nothing that I say. It is just a moment of silence. And then whenever they're ready, we continue. That's it. That's all I do.
I was going to say, like, I can think of 2 moments on my podcast where that has been the case. One of them is, once again, talk about someone that we both had, Grandpa. He talked about a very personal thing that happened, I think, like, literally the night or, like, 2 nights before, or, like, very recently for him, that like was really like emotionally like jarring for him. And like that moment was like weird for me to like try to handle, but I felt like I handled it well. And another one was another VTuber that you probably know, Feral. I had him on the podcast, and like that episode is a really great episode just in general because of all the different ways and all the different things that we talked about. But he got very personal, talking about like his personal life and like the people they consider close, especially like his father figure who had passed away just suddenly and such. And like it let me also open up as well about people that were close to me that I have lost, but also like try to at least like let him know, like, you know, reassure him to know that like I appreciated him for feeling comfortable enough to share those emotions and stuff, especially for a situation like for something that is meant to be just a, you know, calm, cool, casual conversation. Like the fact that you're getting really personal and introspective and stuff, like it meant a lot to me that you would allow me to be a part of this world for even just a second.
I feel like people forget a lot of people think that it's a sign of weakness to do stuff like that, but I find it incredibly strong that you were willing to open up to that regard, to even just me, whether you were thinking about people in the audience or not, because, you know, obviously it is live streamed. But it is like a strengthening in a way. Like the friendship for me gets really tight when that happens, because stronger, not tight as like choking, just you know what I mean. Yeah. It feels great. It feels wonderful. Like I said,
like I kind of said, it's almost like it is. I don't want to say rewarding, but that's like the word I'm thinking of. Some long lines of that.
Yeah. And you get some really touching, amazing stories. And like at first, I started doing Poison Points because I was like, I kind of just want people to talk about themselves. And that was actually not something I factored in. I did not factor in. I thought about every aspect. I thought about everything that you could possibly have happen on a show. except for that. So Bandit was my first guest that openly wept, and I was floored at the experience in that moment. It was humbling, I guess. I don't have words for it is the problem. Like I don't have a single thing I can say, but it was a rewarding and humbling experience.
Sometimes when it comes to podcasts, you can plan for just about every single aspect, but so you can't plan for everything. You just gotta go with the flow and just let the conversation flow the way it does.
Yeah, much like this conversation.
I know, right? Started off talking about state cancer, talked about wrestling for a second, odd ones out. Now here we are talking about our guests crying and such. Like, man.
If you didn't know, Post also has a podcast.
What?
Whoa. Well, I will get us back on track just a little bit. It's still about podcasting, of course. Well, about you. If you could go back to yourself when you first started, like right when you nailed your first interview, what would you tell yourself that may help you from the back, or you from then? Biggest piece of advice.
That is a really good question. I'm trying to think. I mean, because here's the thing, like, at least from the start, I never had like any sort of like, I'm not gonna say doubt, but because it's like I at the very least, the biggest advice I could probably give myself back then is there are going to be times to where you're going to feel discouraged that what you're doing is going to be for nothing at all. It is just going to be something that you're going to push out into the void, and it's going to be lost in the ether forever. Just keep pushing forward. Believe it or not, there are people that truly love and appreciate what you are doing. You may not have, the thousands of people watching your stuff like a Joe Rogan or a Logan Paul or a Bert Kreischer and all these, different people. But there are genuine people that are looking at your stuff, are being inspired by your stuff, and are doing incredible things because of the stuff that you're doing. Don't let the numbers dictate everything that you're going to do. Don't let the numbers dictate that your level of success. Your level of success is going to be the people that you help along the way. It's something that even to this day I still struggle with sometimes. There are certain episodes where I think they're going to do absolutely amazing just because of the person's name recognition alone, and it doesn't turn out to be even remotely as close to what I think it is, and I get easily discouraged. But I also got to remember the conversation itself was incredible, and it's not like I put it out there and no one watched the videos. There was at least a couple of people. There was at least a good handful of people. There was at least 20 people, 50 people that watched that episode and truly love and appreciated what you do, and are inspired to keep pushing forward with their art career because of what you do. And again, it's something I still struggle with at times, but I always got to remind myself the numbers do not dictate your success.
I mean, we're only human. Like, we do this because we love it. And because we love it, we want to succeed in some way. Like, we want...
Exactly.
It would be a dream to make the big bucks off of it and live off of it.
I was going to say, do you know how much of a dream it would be for me to go to my job working as a forklift operator, tell my boss I am done, see you guys later, open up a studio close to where I am, have a in-person studio to where I can record with people either still through Discord, but like through a cool little display and stuff like that, or like have actual in-person interviews. Do you know how cool would it be to have any of that kind of stuff? That would be like my ultimate level of comfort. But I also know it's not going to be easy. If it was easy, we'd have 2,000 podcasts that would all have that kind of setup.
Then it would be a little bit too easy, and now your competition grows, and now you gotta fight all of those people, and I thought about it because I was discouraged as well. Obviously, still am. This is not just I thought about this thing and now I'm all better. But I realized that the main goal of my show was that I wanted people to just talk about themselves. I wanted, and that's why I incorporate the lore, because they thought about their VTuber. They thought about what they do and the presence that they make, even if they can't use it. And when I finish the stream and I'm talking with them, the thing that I remember, it doesn't matter how many people watched, it doesn't matter how many people viewed the video or responded to the tweet, whatever. All that matters is that they were happy, because they were my audience.
Oh my god, yes.
Yeah, and like if they walk away feeling great about it, then I did my job, and that's all that I care about. Like, they're gonna keep doing their thing.
You want to, like, I know that feeling infinitely so. You want to, one of my favorite feelings is whenever I'm doing an interview for the podcast.
Yeah, shoot.
Whenever I talk to them, and either it's before or as we start winding down for the podcast, I get that one comment of like, "Thank you so much for having me on. This was my first podcast."
Yes.
Like, having that initial thought in the back of your head that like you're doing this incredible stuff, and no one has even taken the opportunity to ask you, or you didn't want to go on any other opportunity except for this one, and I'm providing hopefully the benchmark, or at least like a good platform for you to just relax and enjoy yourself, so that, and knowing that that person is having a good quality conversation at the end of the day fills me with so much like joy, like dopamine rushing through my brain every single time someone says that.
The ego inflates a little bit.
Just a little bit, just a little.
You may have a podcast, but is it Postmodern Art Podcast?
It's like, you may have a podcast, but does your how many times have guests said, "Oh, this is my first podcast and it was great"? How many? Let's go. Tell me about it, Joe Rogan. How many times has the guest said this is their first podcast as they're doing their freaking media circus?
Yes, the value of being small and doing podcasts is invaluable, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
There's a bit of a dread, and let me know if you felt this. That one day, hopefully, of course, we're all hoping. Oh, thank you for the follow, DeVito. That you make it big, and you have everyone's watching, like 1,000 viewers are watching your podcast live. You get whatever, how many views afterwards. The biggest fear that I have is being lost in it. I don't want to be lost. I always want to be focused, and I worry, especially doing things like this live, that in this hypothetical situation where chat's scrolling, I will lose the authenticity of what I do, because now I can't be personable with the chat. I can't be personable with my interviewee. It's one or the other in that case.
I get that fear. My biggest fear is that I'm gonna get to a point to where doing this podcast is gonna be more of a job than it is a fun opportunity to like talk with people and like have incredible conversations. Like, all right, let me see. This person does graffiti for a living. Okay, tell me more about yourself. Like, I don't ever want my podcast to be that point to where it doesn't have that personal effect with the person I'm talking to, or even like the audience that I've garnered with it. Like, I get that fear. It's a legitimate fear, but also like, especially if this thing continues to grow more than anything else, like sometimes hopefully the core values of what you're trying to do and the charm that you were trying to accomplish with this is going to be the thing that shines bright more than anything else. And you'll still find a way to find some sort of fun opportunity out of this.
Yeah, hiatuses as well. That'll definitely help you.
That will definitely help as well. I've taken at least like 1 or 2 couple weeks off right there.
Yeah, I like. A lot of people don't think about this. There's a huge whole debacle about this today, actually, on VTuber Twitter.
Oh boy!
I'm sure you know. There was just this comment made about how female VTubers get everything. It's so easy for them compared to male VTubers. But that we could talk about that for a long time. But the main draw from it is like people work really hard. They work incredibly hard behind the scenes, and sometimes you don't even see it. And that's actually the point, right? You don't want to show them like all of the hard work that you went through. You want to show them the finished product. Of course, it depends on who you are, but you perform. That's what you love. That's being a part of the podcast. Your podcastee doesn't want to hear, oh, I had to schedule all this and all that, and your audience doesn't want to hear all that. So of course you're never going to share that.
It's like in the Wizard of Oz, when they first meet the wizard, it's like this big ominous figure that people like cower in fear. But the instant you take away that curtain, you just show all the bells and whistles of how this person's doing it, you just realize, oh, this is just a person doing a thing. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like some people are interested in that kind of stuff. Maybe they want to see the bells and whistles, that kind of stuff. I'm always interested in behind the scenes stuff, but like also there, for the most part, people want to see like the show. They want to have the part that they enjoy. They want to be amazed and mystified.
Yeah, it's so hard. I like. This is something that I wrestle with all the time. Like, how much of me do I show? How much of the persona do I show?
Right.
I always end up slipping, like, at some point in the interview, let's be honest. I put on this facade at the beginning, and then I'm like, oh, okay, we're talking normally now, whatever, it's fine.
But even then, like, the person at the beginning is still you. It's just a more pumped up version of you. It's a version that you want to play of yourself. So, like, no matter whether it's like the big inflated ego version at the beginning or just the calm cash, hey, I'm Iris, let's talk about cool podcasts and cars fucking, like that's still you at the end of the day. And that's part of the reason why people are gonna still want to come back and watch, because they enjoy the person that is presenting this stuff, knowing that they share the same love and passion for the person that they're talking to as much as the person that's gonna be watching the episode.
Oh, I just note that everybody loves me, so.
Well, I mean, of course. What, you think these people are here to watch me? No, they're here because they love you. I'm just the sideshow here.
Yeah. Yeah, it's and thank you, by the way. It's you get so caught up sometimes when it's easy when you're doing it by yourself and you're thinking about it to get in your own head and you can't get out, and you need somebody else to tell you, hey, you're good. You're good. You're fine. You're doing your thing. You're not being weird. Otherwise, we would have told you, like that's why friends are super important, or at least a support group is super important.
Like I was gonna save this towards like the tail end of the conversation, but I'll go ahead and tell you right now, like, I genuinely do love what you're doing here with Poison Points. Like the fact that you're giving these VTubers an opportunity to like really explore who they are, both as a character and as a person, like providing like a good fun environment at the beginning of it all, like, and throughout, like the vibe you set up and some of the creative stuff you're able to implement, both when it comes to your model and just kind of the stuff in between. Like, you truly have something incredible going on here, and I'm genuinely excited to see what you're going to be doing next, who you're going to be bringing on, the conversations you'll be having and such. Because I love this shit. I love stuff like this where I get a cool, like, showcase of passion. That's what I tried to do with my podcast, and what you're doing is a great extension of that, like, for me. So it's like, of course I'm going to be on board, hooked, wanting to watch it from day one. So, like, yeah, Iris, keep up doing the incredible stuff. Let yourself be shown out there. Let people know, like, how much you love and appreciate these people, because you're doing a great job of it so far.
You inflate me too much.
I have a policy with my own podcast, and I extend it to other people's podcasts. I'm just being honest. That's all I'm trying to do.
Thank you. I do drive myself insane. I will tell you that much. I drive myself up the wall when I think about these things, because never, like, I have had this happen where I've thought about it and like I come to the day of the podcast 30 minutes before, even though I have thought about the questions and I'm just like typing them all out and I'm like, oh shit, I'm late, I'm screwed. But I always think about it. That is like my number one prerogative throughout the day. Whenever I'm working, I think about who I'm talking to next. What am I going to say? Like all that stuff.
Oh no, I'll say, Iris, I'll let you know a little insider baseball. You're not the only person to do that. Like
yes.
when I ask a guest, I don't immediately have the questions ready beforehand. I usually don't have the questions ready until either the day before or the day of. I have a general idea of what I want to talk about, and I know like the points I want to hit, but like actually writing it down to paper. Iris, I have an interview tomorrow at 2 p.m. EST, and the only thing I've written down for this guest is the intro I'm going to have to kick off the podcast. But I have a general idea of like what I want to talk about. It's just figuring out like what best way to write it down and like how I want to potentially lead the conversation. But like it's not like I've completely forgotten the guests. Like I'm still impressed with what they're doing. That's why I wanted to have them on in the first place.
Oh yes, I just worry that sometimes people will misinterpret my procrastination for not caring.
Oh, trust me, as that feeling is valid as all get out because I feel it too.
Because I do care. I think about it all the time. I don't know how like far in advance you plan, or like if you plan multiple people for a month or you book people in. I know there's some people in chat right now that can vouch for this. I typically halfway through the month prior am filling out my next month of people. Like that is how far in advance I think. That way planning and all that stuff works out because it is a live show at a specific time, yada yada yada. But
that's fairly good when it comes to planning. I usually try to plan my interviews out to where like if I interview them for this week, the episode's gonna come out at least 2 or 3 weeks in advance. Like I like to have at least like a little buffer. Because also another thing I like to do with my podcast is if I can, I try to commission the guests themselves to do the thumbnail for that episode to kind of showcase their art just a little bit more. And so like I also want to give them a little bit of time to do that artwork if they can. If not, I find another artist and I commission them to do that. But like I want to make sure I give people at least a good amount of time to get that done instead of it being like, all right, so I'm interviewing you this Saturday, so the episode's coming out this Thursday. You think you can have a thumbnail in like 3 days for me? Yeah. Okay, awesome.
Oh, you're good. It would be the first time that I've put people on blast. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. It is a great feeling, and I haven't like not a lot of people have had it because I don't think I've had a lot of like dedicated artists for the show, but I have had people just go, like I would love to be on. All right, here's the art that I would like you to put forward, and they make a piece of art. Like Lady was one of those people. The other week, Claudia was one of those people. They just handed me art to throw onto the poster, and that's like the best feeling in the entire world. So I can only imagine how you feel. I know you commission people, of course, but having their touch on your work is, well, I say your, but podcasting is like a dance. It's a tango between you and your guest, but it is ultimately you asking the questions. It's your brand on top of theirs. Mm-hmm. So I can only imagine how good it must feel to like the other day you had the odd one out, like him on, and he drew the art for your stuff and all of that. Yeah.
I will slightly correct you on that one because I did ask him to do the art, but as it got closer, he did not have the time for it.
Oh, okay.
I actually commissioned the guy that set me up with the odd ones out in the first place, RX Sevchenko, who again works for James, so he knows James Styles very well. I commissioned him to do the art, but then like there's the initial thumbnail, and then I showed it to James, and James is like, you know, this is good, but do you think we can get like a different background for it? And I'm like, okay, just if you have a background in mind, send it to RReg and see what he could do. And then a couple hours later, he's like, so I fixed it up. And so the thumbnail that you see, it is RReg's drawing. James just provided the background for it.
Okay, a collaborative piece.
Exactly.
The power of art. Postmodern art.
I know, right? Hey!
How many times can I make that joke during this stream?
if anyone has a counter by the end of the podcast, as long as you just post it on Twitter, I think we can get that down.
So this is something like that might be top secret information, because I know you like to hold on to who you've interviewed, who you are going to be interviewing. So you don't have to tell me if there's someone you're actually about to interview. But who is someone that you are like looking forward to interviewing next, like that you have your eyes set on?
Oh, like, are you talking about like, are we talking about someone that I believe I can reasonably bring on the podcast, or like the ultimate dream guest I would love to have on the podcast?
Let's say for right now, reasonably. But I do want to hear your dream podcast member that you would like on.
Okay, reasonably, it's kind of hard to gauge at this point because I'm still trying to figure out like what exactly my reach is. But I mean, like, anyone that's within like my close, like, well, I say close, but anyone's in like a good friend group or whatnot. Like, I have several people that, is like friends of friends and stuff like that. Like, I'd say reasonably, I'd love to get like people that are like animating for like major shows at this point. Like, or like for major networks and stuff like that. The most recent one I had from that is a guy by the name of Gabe DeValle, who goes by Gadworks on Twitter. I think he goes by Gadworks. I know at the very least he's on Twitch. He does stream on Twitch. He's actually getting into VTubing himself.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but he is also a storyboard director for the Patrick Show. To give you an idea of like, his kind of reach more than anything else. And it's cool to be able to talk to like professionals like that are deep within like the art field. I'd love to talk to people that have worked on shows that people love. I'd love to talk to people that have worked on shows that I, grew up watching. One of my personal favorite episodes that I recorded was all the way back in episode 13. All right. Is a guy by the name of Joe Horn. I should say favorite as in like my favorite experience. Like, holy crap, how did I get this guy on the podcast? Like, the Odd Ones Out is cool. Will Wood's cool. And I love and appreciate them. But my personal favorite one is Joe Horn. Okay. This guy has been in the industry since the 80s. Okay. Mm-hmm. He was a storyboard artist for the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. He was a storyboard artist for the original Sonic the Hedgehog Saturday morning cartoons. Worked on he did animated segments for Pee-wee's Playhouse, did like, I think the show was called like Team Awesemo, directed episodes of the Boondocks, and most importantly for me, directed one of my favorite shows growing up, Class of 3000.
Yes.
Absolute favorite show like growing up. And the fact that I got to talk to a guy that essentially like helped raise me in a way, like, that meant the world to me. I'd love to talk to more professionals like that. Like, if I could get an opportunity to talk to like the guy that made Ed, Ed and Eddie, or the guy that made like the Marvelous Misadventures of Flapjack, like, that would be cool. Like, I feel like at this point I might have a reasonable way to get to that. Jorge Gutierrez, that's another cool one that I'd love to get. The ultimate dream guest, I can tell you right off the bat, would be Tyler the Creator. I am a huge Tyler fan. I love his music dearly, and especially with all the stuff that he has a hand in, not just with music, but also with like, the music videos he produces, the animated shows that he's been producing on, his clothing brand, and stuff along the lines of that. Like, he's got so many hands in all different aspects of art that I could probably have like a 10-part like conversation with him. That's how big of a guest that would be for me. That is the ultimate dream goal for me if I can get Tyler the Creator on the podcast.
Honestly, I'm going to tell you this. I think you have a shot. Maybe wait a little bit, but I think you do have a shot, like a reasonable chance. Your dream might not be far off.
I'd like to hope so. Like, I have a fit, like, I think it's going to last a lot longer than this, but I have said that the instant that I get to interview Tyler the Creator, the instant I get that interview, then I could stop the podcast, like, because I would be truly happy. I wouldn't stop it if I got Tyler the Creator. I'm just saying, if I was to get him, if for some reason I had to stop doing interviews altogether, I'd be a happy person because I got to talk to the one person that inspired me more than anyone else. Mm-hmm. Like, when it comes to just how he's able to carry himself and like the kind of attitude he carries of just do what you love more than anything else, because that's what Tyler's been essentially doing since day one.
I share a similar sentiment with you. If I had this one guest on, I could stop doing this forever theoretically and be perfectly satisfied. I would love to have Germa on the show.
Oh my god, yes. Yes, yes, yes.
As
that would be a hell of an interview.
He is incredibly elusive, like just overall. So the likelihood, even if I was to get any semblance of fame, is very small. But if I could, it would be definitely one of those like, holy shit! I just interviewed one of my biggest inspiration for wanting to be a content creator, and now I have to sit across the table from them and be cool and calm and confident.
Like I've actually had that moment in a smaller way, but still in a way, because one of my favorite like content creators is an artist by the name of Left at London. I don't know if you ever heard of her before.
Yeah, I have seen a little bit of their stuff actually.
Okay, good, because she's like an incredible art. Like she is someone that was big back when Vine was a thing. Like she had a couple of Vines that like literally blew up, and then like after that, like the thing that kind of turned me on to her was, oddly enough, Tyler the Creator, because she did a little parody video of like how to write a Tyler song, which was like hilarious, but also like surprisingly spot on accurate with how she was able to do it. And then I realized it was the Vine chick, but also like she does her own music, and it's like awesome more than anything else. And so like whenever I was able to get her, episode 3 of the podcast, when I had fucking nothing, like nothing to really showcase what I was able to do, the fact that she was like, I emailed her and I was like, and she was just like, yeah, sure, I'd be down for it. I'm like, what the holy crap. Okay, this is a thing. I can make this a thing. This is possible. Like,
I've done it.
Without Left at London, there might not be a postmodern art podcast.
Really?
Because like that was one of the ones that I was like truly starstruck when I was able to get her on the podcast. That's how much I looked up and admired her.
Okay. That is your canon event was getting her on the show.
Exactly. No, the canon event was the pilot episode to where I was using the freaking desktop version of Discord to record, and it fucking crashed like 8 different times because I also didn't have a Wi-Fi repeater at the time that to carry a strong signal, and I was this close to saying, fuck it, I can't do this. That was my canon event.
But we upgrade. We adapt and overcome.
Exactly.
Oh my goodness. That is wild to know. And like, look at you now. You're at 133 episodes and still going strong. No signs of stopping for the foreseeable future, unless you need to take a break, of course. But that is like the dream, right? Because it's one thing to be successful, like quote unquote, and like make money off of it, but the dream is that you get to do it over and over and over again and walk away with the same feeling every single time that you did good.
Exactly.
You did great.
Exactly. That, like, it's back to what I was saying earlier, when like the one thing that I'm afraid of is ending up one day it becoming more of a job than it is something that I'm passionate about. And I sincerely hope, especially with all the artists that are out there and like how passionate they are about what they're talking about, I never lose that, because that is something that I hold near and dear to me. That is the one of the biggest driving forces for why I still keep doing the podcast.
And like in a similar vein for me, it's VTubers are infinite. Everybody has a different lore. They have all these different things. And I can always walk away from a situation with knowledge gained. Because even if someone has a similar idea to somebody else, the approach is actually what I'm like try to fish out of people whenever I start that interview. It's those first questions I ask, which is why did you become a VTuber? Why did you decide on this model? And a question that I've implemented, and you know what, I will ask you this as well. The question is, why are you, or sorry, the wrong way. I almost said, why are you a VTuber? And that would have That would have hit the prediction.
It would have, pup. You know, I'm letting you off easy on this one. You didn't call me that. You caught yourself. So
did.
letting you off easy for that one.
PK, who voted yes, I will break. The question is, what does it mean to be post? And of course,
What does it mean to be post?
For everyone else, it's like for being your VTuber. But I want to extend this one to you, even though you aren't technically a VTuber. What does it mean to be post? What does it mean to be a postmodern art podcast?
What it means to be post. What it means to be the host of the Postmodern Art Podcast.
Yes. In which you are post of Postmodern Art Podcast.
Right. How many? Sorry, for the audience at home, how many times have we said post on this podcast alone?
Take a shot.
Oh, Jesus. Look, I know this is poison points, but let's not give the audience alcohol poisoning, okay? Okay, now, what does it mean to be post? I think what it means to be post is to provide a platform for people to just truly relax and be themselves and let their passion show more than anything else. Like I've said before, like the main thing of this podcast, yes, art is like the basis of it, but my main thing is letting people showcase their love and passion for what they do. And if my show, 130 something episodes strong, however big my audience is or whatnot, if this little platform I have right now is allowing a person to truly showcase their passion to the fullest potential, then I know I'm doing a good job as a host. I'm doing a good job being post because, like I said, that passion is what drives me to keep going and keep pushing forward with what I'm doing. I love seeing people's passion. I love seeing, when people truly love what they're doing, despite everything that may be going on around them. Their world could be crumbling apart. They're going through every single situation that, the world is looking upon them and being like, fuck you, get back in line and do what you're supposed to be doing. But the fact that they let that passion be showcased on full display and I'm able to help them showcase that passion louder than ever before, then, like I said, that means I'm doing a good job being post.
And you are succeeding.
I sincerely hope I am.
You definitely are. From what I've seen so far, yes.
I appreciate it.
Of course. And, I actually think that this is a great spot to take a really quick break. Considering that I just got a warning message on my phone, 20% battery.
Oh, goodness. Yeah. Charge that up.
We'll give this a quick little charge. But if anybody in chat has any questions for post, now would be the time to start gathering your thoughts together. We will be back in about 10 to 15 minutes, probably sooner, because who knows what time is? It's a construct anyways.
Time is but a flat circle.
Yeah. It's pointless. All right, we will see you in just a moment. All right, we are back. My face is not back, apparently. I completely forgot to set that back up.
Oh boy.
Give me one moment. Don't look at my face. That's not the important part. There we go. Now I'm moving.
There we go.
All right.
You just had that look. You just had that look of like generic NPC in like Animal Crossing game, talking about the tea that they are sipping.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you for the head pats and well, the entire care package, not me.
There you go.
All right, we had a lot of questions come in. So are you ready, Post, for the lightning round, I suppose?
I am ready when you guys are. And if you guys have any more questions, please feel free to ask as well.
Yeah, he loves to talk.
I love questions. I love them.
All right, so we'll start off with Nyx. What's it like being so cool? The world has to know.
I don't know. Nyx, can you be the one to tell me that one?
All right, we got the Uno reverse right off the bat, and while Nyx is reeling off of that one, PK asks, scale from 1 to 10, how huggable are you?
Ooh, okay. So are we talking about the Mr. Moneybags that you see before you, or are you talking about the IRL person that you see? There is a difference with that one.
Let's get the money bags, and then let's get the IRL.
Okay, I feel like Moneybags would at least be a good 9 out of 10, and there's only 2 reasons why it's not a perfect 10 out of 10. One, I am only so small. There's only so much of me that you can hug. Secondly, I might have some loose gold coins in my pockets and such, and that might be a little bit uncomfortable when you are squeezing me close.
Oh, the pains of being rich.
Exactly.
All right, and
I'll say if we're talking about
the IRL, the IRL of you.
I feel like it's at least a good 8 out of 10 because I am a big guy. All right, I am 6'2". I'm like close to 300 pounds. So if you want a big old bear hug, if that's exactly what you're craving, I got you covered. Just make sure it's not right after I get done with working at a freaking hot warehouse and such, because otherwise the smell is gonna be bad. But like if you're looking for a big old bear hug, I got you covered.
Yeah, after the fresh shower, that's when we'll get the.
There you go. If it's after the shower, solid 10 out of 10.
All right, and then PK also asks, where did the design for the Post mascot come from, and will there ever be a plushie? I need to know this one.
I say, PK, I am so glad that you asked this question. Because first off, I'm going to once again, you know what? Actually, hold on real quickly. Iris, I'm going to send you their Twitter and you can post in the chat if you want. I got to give once again, all the credit to the world to my producer or co-showrunner of the podcast, Tipsy J Hearts. I first got in contact with her episode 20 for, Hannah Daigle was the guest. She's a person that if you ever seen the indie animated shorts Satina, that's Hannah Daigle. She was not able to do the thumbnail, and so I had asked Tipsy. Well, I had asked a bunch of artists, and Tipsy was the one that volunteered to do the thumbnail. I loved her art so much that I wanted to have her be one of the first people to do the merch drop whenever I first dropped the merch drop for the podcast. And I gave Tipsy free reign to do whatever she wants. It's like, you kind of understand the vibe of the podcast, provide what you think would be a good thing to put on some merchandise. And she provided me 2 designs that are still on the shop to this day. One of them is this fun little miniature, like Nathan post or whatnot on top of some Broadway lights that looks absolutely fantastic. And the second one, she told me directly that she had felt inspired because she had watched a bunch of puppet stuff, inspired by the Muppets, was watching Puppet History and stuff. And she heard me say on one episode, this wasn't even like a standard part of the podcast yet, but on one of the episodes I had said, let's say I am Big Shot Mr. Moneybags. She took that and she ran with it, and she developed the original Mr. Moneybags design, which was this cute little, guy that you see before you, holding 2 little money bags with the biggest smile on his face, more than anything else. Yeah, and in fact, the PNG that you were seeing that I am using today, this was also made by her. And I even asked her recently to make a character sheet, and she gave it like a slight redesign. But like, yeah, if it wasn't for Tipsy J Hearts, there probably would not be a Mr. Moneybags that you see, this little lovable, huggable little guy that you see before you. So if I have not said it before, the Twitter link that Iris had posted in the chat, please go follow Tipsy J Heart. She is a fantastic artist, and she has been one of the biggest supporters of what I've been doing for ages now. This podcast would not be the podcast it was if it wasn't for her. Like, this podcast would not have some of the incredible people, have some of the vibes that we're going for, and she would honestly not be like the backbone for this podcast that, like, because I can only do so much. She has genuinely helped me out so much with this stuff. And when it comes to the plush, I would fucking love to. If someone could lead me in the right direction to figure out how to make a plush, or I want like a legit like puppet, like Muppet Mr. Moneybags version first and foremost. Like, just for me personally to do like IRL stuff with. I want that more than anything else. But yes, I would love to do it. I would love to do a plush, and if someone could lead me in the right direction, I would be down for it.
With the world of VTubers, I could probably find somebody who knows somebody who could do that. I'll take a look into it and see who I could find to see if they do things like this.
Please do. please do.
And the last thing that PK would like to know is, what is your favorite flavor of chip?
That is a very good question, because there are so many like good chips, and it also depends on like what kind of mood you kind of want you're in for the chip, because there's like certain chips that you want at like certain times. I mean,
if you had to be like, if you had to pick like a brand name, it's like your go-to for this brand, what would you go for?
Well, also, I was gonna say, like, freaking that, because it's different. Because like, I like a certain kind of Dorito, I like a certain kind of Ruffle, I like a certain kind of Sun Chip. That, I'll go there. I love a good Sun Chip, specifically the Garden Salsa Sun Chip. Yes. That is a really good chip.
Oh yeah, I could agree with you on that 100%.
Now, I was gonna say, if we were gonna go Dorito, I'd go with the spicy sweet chili Dorito, because that's a really good one.
So if you like the
Ruffles, I gotta go. I like a little bit of the spice, but also like, I was gonna say with the Ruffles, I could always go for a delicious, just cheddar and sour cream, Ruffle chip. Yeah, that I'm down for that. But like, the go-to for me has got to be I'll tell you what the go-to chip is for me. I can't believe it, because I got at least like one bag sitting next to me right now. It is a Lay's Poppables honey barbecue chip.
Ooh,
I don't know if you ever had any of the Poppables, but those things are addictive as all get out.
I have not, actually. I probably should stray away from them if they're so addicting.
Like, it's one of those, like, you eat it and it's not even really like a chip, but I mean that in like the best way possible.
Fun fact, the other day I was my work grabs like a random assortment of chips or whatever from the store every Friday, and they bring it in so that the staff can have it. And they brought in popcorners, and that made me think of Sasha. I thought of Sasha. Because
that's the only reason why I ever bought popcorners in the first place, is because of Sasha.
And I'd never had them before, and lo and behold, I think they are now one of my favorite chips. The white cheddar specifically. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know if you watched, because I did an episode with Sasha. I had Sasha on the podcast, and halfway through the episode, like, because I thought about this like the night before, because I had bought a bag of popcorners like earlier in the week, like for just some random reason, like not even like really trying to, not even thinking much about it. And then like as the week progressed, I had Sasha coming on the podcast. I'm like, I could do this. So like halfway through the interview, we were talking about with Sasha, I was talking about, you have such a vibe about you, you have certain things, I love, like, for example, the memes you provide. Oh, pardon me for 1 second. I reached down, I grabbed the bag of popcorns, I just pop it open, I just pop one in. I'm like, so the memes that you come up with, and she's like, you motherfucker.
Damn, I wish I had thought of that.
I love you, Sasha.
All of the love out of that silly little battle maid.
Mhm.
Espion wants to follow up the chip question with, what is your favorite ice cream?
My go-to, the one I have to go with, is a good chocolate chip cookie dough ice cream. Like it's good. It hits the spot. Like the vanilla, people give a lot of crap to vanilla here and there, but it's a nice little like soothing thing to go with that nice little chewy, cookie dough right there. It's just like fantastic.
And you don't know when the next bite is going to be that cookie dough texture or the ice cream texture.
Exactly.
Always keeping you guessing. DeVito wants to know, do you have any favorite shows or animes? And if so, how would you place them? So I guess if you have multiple, like your top 3, maybe even 2, if that's the case.
Okay, that's fair. I will say, like, easily, like I've said before, my absolute favorite show was Class of 3000. And it still is. It's a show that I hold near and dear. I need to go back and find a place where I can rewatch it again because it's been so long since I've seen it. But that is one that I will always hold near and dear to my heart. When it comes to animes, I am not as well versed in the anime world. I want to invest myself more in it. But there are 2 in particular that I will always champion just because I love the vibe of it. And also, like, my friend at least introduced me to one of them. One of them is The Disastrous Life of Psyche K. I don't know if you ever heard of it.
I have.
Okay. It's a fantastic show. I love the vibe of it more than anything else. I mean, it's basically like One Punch Man, but like so much more comedic and so much like more like slice of life-ish in a way. That one's a good one. And then the one that like had my heart always is FLCL or Fooly Cooly. I fucking love the animation style that show. The designs are absolutely amazing. Like I can't get enough of it. I mean, I want to get into some animes. The number one anime I want to get into is Cowboy Bebop. I've watched some episodes and I fucking love it, and I want to like invest myself in that world because I know it's fucking amazing. It's just a matter of committing myself to watching it.
The time, the classic, the circle. And DeVito wanted me to answer as well. For me, picking a favorite show is like killing off children. It is so
Jesus,
so hard. Not in the sense that I have, you know what I mean. It's hard to like pick a favorite child. I should say. Damn, that's gonna be quoted forever. Shit.
Someone please clip that.
My favorite anime of all time is Steins Gate. I love that show to death. It is my introduction into psychological horror, which is my favorite genre of any media ever. And I love it. I can't get enough, if you couldn't tell with how I do some of the things that I do.
Well, there you go.
But beyond that point, I can't really name any other favorites on a list. I do have a list that is loosely made, but I have to go back and like readjust some things.
That is fair. That is fair. Also, I wanted to take a second because I saw something and it made me think of something as well. I saw in the chat, DeVito, you said that apparently it's on the Cartoon Network website. I will have to look that up. And I will take you up on it. But it also reminded me of a point when it comes about Class of 3000. You want to know the coolest fact I learned about that show, Class of 3000?
Yeah, give it to me. Hit me up.
It was initially not supposed to be a show for Andre 3000. AKA the person that the show is named after.
Yeah. What was it supposed to be about? Just a generic high school band show?
It was supposed to be an Adult Swim show made for George Clinton. Like just basically like a silly like caper adventure of the week kind of thing. But for some reason George Clinton couldn't commit to it. And so when they reached out to find other people, Andre 3000 had just finished up working with Outkast and was looking for the next creative venture to work on. And so Cartoon Network, the parent company approached them about doing it. And if I remember correctly, Andre actually wanted the show to be a kids show, an educational show about music and such. That's why it became Class of 3000 on Cartoon Network, which also leads to another cool point. If you've ever watched the show, you'll notice that like the character designs seem to have this like cool flow to it, almost it's like supposed to flow like music should more than anything else.
Mhm.
That is completely because Joe Horn, the guy who I told you that I interviewed, was the only the way that he got the job being the director of Class of 3000 is like he had heard there was an opportunity. He sat down with an interview for Andre 3000, and Andre had asked, "All right, so what do you got for me? What do you think the show should look like?" To which Joe had just simply asked, "Well, this is your show, man. How do you want it to look like?" And Andre is like, "You are literally the only person to ever ask me that question." He had gone through every single director that they had offered him at Cartoon Network, and Joe was the only one to just straight up say, "This is your show. How do you want it to look?"
And
so
he went with the wavy design.
Exactly.
It all fell into place, and now we have the classic Class of 3000. Do you think if I played it, I'm not going to play it now just in case, but do you think if I played it, it would mute the VOD?
I'm sure it would. I'm sure it would mute the VOD.
I wanted to play it as an outro, like the set everybody away when we get to that point.
As cool as it would be, I'm pretty sure that Dave Zalaz would probably clamp the stream down like crazy,
I'll play it safe this time around. All right, Post. I have 3 questions for you. My 3 traditional questions that I like to ask now that I've gotten to the groove of being the interviewer. My first question for you is, that bar behind you that you see, if you could have a signature drink at that bar, what would it be? And what would you name it if you had any name for it?
Well, let's see. Keep in mind, I'm not very fluent when it comes to beverages, let alone alcoholic beverages.
Oh no.
Or very spicy water beverages.
Yeah, the spicy water.
Just in case. Spicy water. Well, I think the base of it, more than anything else, has to be this wonderful drink known as Goldschlager. Mainly because, there's gold flakes in it. Like that kind of works with the vibe of what I'm trying to go for more than anything else.
Okay.
Let's see. That'd be a good base of it. Maybe, add like an orange peel or something like that. Something that would mesh well with like the cinnamon, something citrusy to go with it. But also like bright, kind of like the monocle that you see on yours truly. And then, maybe toss in like a mint leaf on top or something. Just a nice little decor. And just call it just a sip of gold. I think that'd be a good name for it.
I love it. Oh my god. Okay. My second question for you is, if you could ask the next interviewee anything, a pay it forward question, if you will, what would you like to ask them?
Okay. I think since this is supposed to be the icebreaker question for the next person, I will leave them with the same icebreaker question I like to ask on my podcast, if I may.
Oh, go for it.
Let's say you were on a desert island on your own accords. It is just you alone with your thoughts. You get to kick back, relax, breathe, get to enjoy yourself for a little bit. With accommodations, you're not stranded. It's like, what's the word I'm looking for? You have accommodations. It's like a little vacation more than anything else. It's just you get to enjoy it on your own. To make sure you don't go completely insane on this island, you can bring one piece of media or one piece of art with you. Again, to help with whatever kind of headspace you want on this island. If given this opportunity, what would that one piece be?
So, one piece of art
or media,
or
whatever
media.
You consider art or media.
I'm typing it out in a way that I will remember this for next time.
Fair enough. I'll say, if nothing else, just watch any episode of the podcast. That'll be the first question I ask.
Yeah, the perfect reminder.
Well, I should say every episode starting after episode 52, I think it is, because I initially started my podcast asking what is your most unpopular art opinion, because I wanted to prove to people that, like, yeah, they think it's unpopular, but like I think it's actually a good opinion. But then it's just like, well, that is what it is, and some people don't want to answer that because of kindness. But like this icebreaker question is a lot more fun.
Yeah, you got to keep it all inclusive in that regards.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, hello, Arlisman. Thank you for stopping on in. And my last question for you, actually, I lied. I have one more question because I just remembered you put something very specific on your lore section when I asked you to fill out the application. And the thing that you put down is that you actually voice acted in a piece of media. What did you do? What role did you perform?
Oh boy, do I have a story for you! No, it's a seriously good story. So I had brought on a guest, episode 12, in fact, or 11. I think it was 11 or 12, one of the two. Anyways, this person was a independent game developer. Is a guy who during the pandemic had been sent home, and he decided he wanted to do the thing that he wanted to do, which was develop video games. The guy's name is Antonio Freire. Does Merlino games. Check out some of his stuff. He's got some cool stuff. And this was around the time where he was about to release his first game called The Chameleon. Basically, it's supposed to be if Metal Gear Solid existed, but there's no weapons, but there's superpowers. I mean, it was a very short game. It was his first game. He was trying to like figure out how this stuff works more than anything else. Well, after the interview, I like to extend an offer to my guests and be like, look, hey, you know, I get that, like, you know, it's hard to find people in this world. Look, if you have any sort of opportunity for like a voice acting thing, whether it's something small or whatnot, I just want the experience more than anything else, because I do want to get into voice acting. Like, it's something that I would love to have an opportunity to dabble with more than anything else. But I made the offer, and he was like, well, you know, the main guy that I was going to have, he couldn't commit because he had life stuff going on. If you want it, the opportunity is yours. And I'm like, wait, huh? What? Who? Where? What? Me? What? Huh? I know I made the offer, but what? And so I got to voice essentially the lead character, or like the main driving force for The Chameleon. I was Dr. F, Chief of Lunite Research. Basically, like throughout the game, you found my voice on some voice recordings and stuff, just kind of piece together what exactly is going on. Because in this game, you literally just wake up, there's burning piles going on around you, and an alarm going off, and you're trying to figure out like what is going on and what is this power, what are these abilities I'm able to have. So yeah, I got to voice a major player for a independent video game.
I I just looked it up on Steam because I'm gonna get this.
It looks fun, doesn't it?
Yeah, I like this. But you want to guess how much off it is for the Steam summer sale?
Oh wait, I know this. I know this because I looked recently as well. It's 69% off.
Yes, exactly, 69% off.
So, and to be fair, the game was cheap in the first place. I believe it's like $7 without the Steam sale or whatnot.
Yeah,
so
it is very cheap.
So if you guys want to get a cheap little experience that's only like, you know, an hour and a half, 2 hours long or whatnot, with, you know, an ability to have also a new game plus to where you can play the thing over again with all the abilities instead of slowly discovering it throughout or whatnot, I highly encourage you buy The Chameleon today on Steam.
Yes. Here, I'm actually going to post the link for it.
Please do.
All right. And now for my real final question. This is the most important one. I hope you're ready for this one, because I did forget to remind you during the break. Who would you like to raid this evening?
Who would I like to raid? Let me double check real quickly. Let me make sure that whoever we're about to raid isn't about to end the stream themselves. Let's see. Double checking something super quickly. I have a good couple people on mine. Let's see. We got that one. I'm debating between a couple people right now. Let's see. I think. You know what? I want to give a little love to them because they gave a little love to you on this stream. How about we raid Wolfie the Bunny?
Yes.
They just followed you, so I think that'd be a good time for you to pop on and be like, "Thank you for the support. We'll give it right back."
Yeah, let's I'm gonna pull them up right here. Playing DBD.
Persona.
Oh goodness.
Dead by Daylight.
I've had that game on my wish list for a bit. Now I'll have to grab it. You must get it. Get it, Nix.
Yes, please do, Nix.
It includes Post from the Postmodern Art Podcast, otherwise known as
Hi.
Post. All right. Post, thank you so much for being on the show. I do appreciate you being here. You've been a wonderful guest. And honestly, just having you... having like a fellow podcastee to talk about these types of things with is like such a blessing, because there's so many crazy things that happen behind the scenes that like it takes one to know one, right?
Oh, absolutely. Like that's one of the things I always love when it comes to talking to other podcasters and such. Like just talking about like the experience of what we both love and appreciate. And I've said it once, but I'll say it again. Thank you sincerely for the opportunity for letting me be on here. This was genuinely a good fun time, and you really do a good job. Like really let the guests just go off and be themselves more than anything else. And I sincerely hope that I'm sincerely excited for the people that you're going to be bringing on next. And I sincerely hope nothing but love and support. And for the people in the audience, the best way you can show that love and support. Hey, you see below me how there's that Donathon link right there? Show Iris some love and donate if you can, or at least share the word, because Iris is doing amazing stuff and they could use all the love and support you guys can. I know you guys love and support what they're doing. I mean, you're here for the first part, so I mean, why not show that love right back if you can.
The money bags shilling for me.
Hey, that's what I do. Okay, that's my job.
Well, thank you. And you have a podcast tomorrow. Well, you're going to record one. When is your next episode dropping?
My next episode is going to be dropping just like any other episode. Thursdays at the youtube.com/@postmodernartpodcast. Every Thursday, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Oh.
I always try to make the teaser the weekend before. If you want to see that teaser, who I'm going to be bringing on the podcast, you can go follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Inkblot. I just recently started the Tumblr, so there's that. All at Postmod Art Pod.
Wonderful. At a perfect time for my webcam to die. All right, well...
Hey, at least it was right here.
Oh, no, hold on. Don't keep talking, Post. It did the thing that it did. I mentioned this earlier. It happens. 1 second. Nobody could hear you. I'm glad that it all happened at the end, though. That's the best part. There we go. We should be able to hear you now.
There you go. Can you hear me? Hello. Hi.
We can hear.
We're good.
Here. We're good. Alrighty. Let us send love on over to Wolfie the Bunny. We'll get them in here. Here is the raid message. And make sure you do subscribe to Post. I will come for you, and I will defeat you in Mortal Kombat if you don't. There we go. All right.
Show
everyone.
Iris love. Show Wolfie love.
Show this show this puppet some love as well. Don't forget to end the prediction. This is true.
You didn't call me a VTuber. Yes.
Yes, I did it. Those who voted number 2, I don't know who voted number 2, but you are powerful. I was Nyx. Nyx was the all-powerful one. All right, everyone. I hope that you have a wonderful night and that the weekend goes smoothly. I will be streaming up until, starting tomorrow. We'll be playing some Kirby 64 with a space buffoon. I believe, yes. Have a good night, everyone. This is my favorite part. We sit in the ending screen, and we don't mute, and everyone gets to hear us. It adds a...
Well, in that case, hi.
Yeah, hello. It has a special flavor, I think, to any good stream. The prediction is also masking when we're about to raid, so
I mean, I'm sure it'll, officially pass along good enough. Jesus, was that you? I feel like that was your best interview. That has to be your best. No, I'm joking.
and of course it sends.
There you go. That's exactly what I wanted.
What a great end.